An ordinary shift for a police officer.
This case came in as just another burglary.
This is an offence we have seen quite a lot of.
Can quickly take an extraordinary turn.
It's gone from 0 to 100 in no time at all.
A routine case
Just thought we were picking up someone who's maybe just a bit drunk and disorderly.
can suddenly spiral into a serious incident.
I need to arrest you on suspicion of murder.
The more I dig, the more I find. How big was this case going to get?
He has started a fire, he's done it deliberately and used some kind of fuel to get that fire going.
Sometimes the most minor crimes
It's really important that we get hold of him as quickly as possible and get him off the street.
can crack major cases.
We did have an international manhunt on our hands. Gotcha.
Today on Big Little Crimes. Police investigating a common form of cash machine theft unearth something much bigger. A nationwide network of crime involving the theft of thousands of pounds from bank customers.
There's a high degree of knowledge about the internal workings of an ATM in order to do this.
Causing a major headache for the banks and the police.
Once they have hit one ATM, they move on to a different location.
But first, an accidental explosion at a house in Liverpool not only endangers life,
If it'd have hit her, it'd have killed her. No doubt about it.
but also leads detectives to a major drug dealing ring.
The scale of criminality was worth roughly 1.2 million.
My name's Al O'Shaughnessy. I'm a sergeant at Merseyside Police. I wanted to join the police. It's that old cliche of wanting to help, wanting to try and make a difference in that community, really, trying to help people and make it a safer place.
While out on patrol, Alan gets a message. A 999 call has been made, reporting an explosion in the Dingle area of Liverpool.
Merseyside Police Emergency.
The big bank and barracks got blown in the house. Please come quick.
I was aware en route there was mentions of a gas explosion, there was mentions of fireworks, there was reports of smoke.
When Alan arrives, he learns that two women were in the house having drinks when the explosion happened. The fire service is already on scene and confirm it's not a gas explosion or fireworks. It's a mystery.
What we try and do is not preempt what we're going to, but it's difficult when you've got information like that. It's about trying to keep an open mind, really. I knew nothing about the property. My primary concern is the safety of everyone present, whether it's something that we can deal with or whether it's something that we need to get the military involved in.
They speak to the woman who lives in the house, but her version of events is confused.
Their account was changing quite frequently. They'd initially said that something had been thrown through the window, so it was quite clear that the scene that was in front of me didn't make sense.
Alan's still not clear what's happened. Is it a one-off? Or could there be more explosives in the house? Then the fire service gives him the green light to go inside. In the upstairs bedroom, it's like a bomb has gone off.
I went up to the scene with CSI from the Fire and Rescue Service, made an assessment with regard to what we could see, what we could smell, that type of thing.
I'm in bedroom 1 of the property where I've videoed the seat of the explosion. One half of what we think is a crude IED has been recovered from the bedroom, and the second piece is sitting within the floorboards of the first floor property and the ceiling of the ground floor.
I found what I would describe the size of a half tennis ball made of metal, and from what I could see in front of me, I was quite happy we were dealing with an improvised explosive device here, crude IED.
The woman who was in the house is lucky to have escaped with her life.
Obviously, a projectile travelling at speed and causing damage. It went through a radiator cover, hit the radiator, left a big semicircle dent in the radiator, went up through the top of the radiator cover and hit the ceiling. If it had hit her, it would have killed her. No doubt about it.
What started as a possible accidental explosion now looks like a more serious and sinister crime.
We've had issues in the past where organised crime groups have used homemade explosives and have used them to target the police. I was keen to get photographs of it and speak to the Army Bomb Disposal. We'll get them out and they'll come out to ensure the scene's safe for it to then be processed. And they came out, attended the scene and confirmed that it was an IED and it was something that they hadn't dealt with before. It was something that was very new to them.
But who has planted the device and why? Alan secures the area. He can carry on the investigation in the morning, once he's got the armies all clear.
It was decided that the best course of action was to preserve the address as a scene and for the full address to be searched the following day with a fresh team.
Next morning, the team searches the house and discover more about what caused the explosion.
I was informed initially that the fly-off lever had been found, indicating that it was some sort of improvised hand grenade.
But that's not all the search team finds.
The biggest thing for me was the discovery of a massive quantity of controlled drugs. That, with what had taken place, now made sense to me. That was clearly a danger to the people present.
This changes everything. It's criminality on an enormous scale. So Paul McVeigh from the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit is assigned to the case. And now his team can say with confidence how the explosion really happened.
We believe the occupier thought there was drugs in what was a stash can. Took the pin out, thinking there was drugs inside. Unfortunately for that occupant, it was a hand grenade. The ticking was heard and the occupant ran out, and then lo and behold, the front bedroom exploded.
This accidental explosion has led police to stumble on a serious crime. The sheer amount of drugs here goes way beyond personal use.
159 kilos of amphetamine were recovered, a kilo of cocaine and about 9 kilos of mixing agent together with the IED that had exploded. Clearly an organised crime group were at play.
And things are about to go from bad to worse.
Within the bag was a Glock handgun and several rounds of ammunition.
In our next case, the investigation into a London ATM theft exposes a gang stealing tens of thousands from banks across southeast England. The City of London, a hub for UK and global finance. It's also the home of the dedicated Card and Payment Crime Unit, where Detective Sergeant Ben Hurley is based.
I've been a police officer for about 12 years now. I've always been interested in investigating fraud. In this world, we deal with criminals who have had a lot of time to think about how they're going to commit their crimes, which often means it's more complex for us to investigate.
A high street bank contacts Ben's department. Some of their ATMs in London have been tampered with, and customers trying to withdraw money aren't getting their cash. It's a scam Ben knows well.
It is a low-tech form of crime. It's a very quick and often easy way for gangs to make cash very quickly. The way this works is a criminal will use an ordinary bank card to conduct a simple, low-level transaction with a cash machine, maybe for £5 or £10. The transaction goes through and the money is dispensed. When the money gate is opened, this allows the criminal to insert this cash trap device. Members of the public will then approach the machine and use it, believing it to be perfectly safe to do so. The transaction will go through, their card will be returned, but their cash will be trapped in this device and it won't be dispensed to them.
If the ATM isn't part of a specific bank, or it's not during branch hours, all the victims can do is call their own bank to report the problem, while their cash is collected by the criminal.
So once the suspect returns to the ATM, they have to use quite a large amount of force to open up the cash gate to retrieve the trapped cash. This inevitably causes quite a bit of damage to the machine, making it unusable and causing the bank to have to repair it at a great cost to themselves.
The bank gives Ben details about the locations and the card that's been used.
So the initial referral that came in was related to a small number of cash machines, and they'd been linked via a single prepaid card.
Prepaid cards can be bought over the counter for cash, so they have no names or addresses attached to them. But the banks can identify when these cards are used, thanks to the information stored on the embedded microchip. It means Ben can run checks on where else this specific card has been used.
Once we had the information about this card, we were able to use our connections with other banks and other ATM providers to identify this card.
But when the information comes through, Ben realizes this scam is on a much bigger scale than anyone had initially thought.
This card had been used at numerous other ATM machines throughout the London area and also the home counties, Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire.
And the sums involved are shocking.
The criminals are believed to have got away with around £20,000 worth of cash that they trapped, and led to approximately £60,000 worth of damage.
Ben realizes this isn't just a small-time crook targeting a few ATMs. He's dealing with highly organized criminals.
So the offending we identified was widespread and it was prolific, and we were aware that we needed to take some urgent action to ensure that this didn't continue. A crime like this, obviously the offending happens very quickly, and the nature of the offending means that once they have hit one ATM, it is damaged and it can't be used again, so they move on to a different location. So it's critical that we act quickly when we receive the intelligence, as we won't know necessarily where they're going to be next.
The microchip data will be key to catching these thieves in the act. But Ben has another technological advantage.
CCTV is crucial. It allows us to identify the suspects who are targeting the machines and the methods they're using. It also helps us to identify any vehicles they may be using to travel to and from the location.
Ben meticulously reviews hours of footage and identifies 2 likely offenders.
The suspects in this investigation were identified as 2 males in their early 30s and late 20s. They weren't previously known to us.
Although Ben and his colleague Tony Blake don't know who they are, they do know exactly what they're up to.
This is an example of a cash trap that is used by criminals. You can see this is a fairly basic example, and this would be inserted into the cash machine, this end first. It would go in and it would not be visible from the outside of the machine.
However, for them to actually work is incredibly complicated, and the chances of being spotted tampering with an ATM are high.
There's a high degree of knowledge about the internal workings of an ATM in order to do this, because it has to go and miss all the sensors inside the machine. So the ATMs have got sensors, this misses them all and sits nicely inside the machine.
So these bits here would act as a trap to stop the cash being dispensed from the machine.
The amount of banknotes each trap can hold varies, but the criminals can make hundreds of pounds in a single swoop.
It would be trapped by these bits here before it exited the machine, and then it would also be trapped by these rear bits to stop it getting returned into the machine afterwards. So it's trapped effectively, and then it allows the fraudster to return to the machine, drag this out with the cash still in it.
With a clear picture of the suspects, where and how they operate, and the cards they're using, Ben bides his time, waiting for the moment one of the banks identifies exactly which ATM the thieves are targeting next.
We were really very reliant on the intelligence from the banking industry to allow us to react quickly to where they happened to be targeting that particular day. Thankfully, due to the nature of the crime, once the cash trapping device is left in situ for a while, allowing us to get to the scene and keep an eye on it, waiting for the suspect to return to retrieve it.
And after days of anticipation,
We received intelligence from one of the banks that the pre-staging card had been identified in a cash machine in Welwyn Garden City.
it's a 90-minute drive away. For Ben and his team, the race is on. To reach the ATM before the thieves come back to collect the siphoned cash. As soon as they arrive, Ben checks the ATM, and the cash trap is still there. It means they've beaten the criminals to their cash collection. Now they just have to stake out the ATM and wait for them. And after 3 hours, the thieves put in an appearance.
We identified the suspects in the car. They were then stopped, their car searched, and the suspect arrested. In the vehicle, we recovered cash trapping devices, as well as the prepaid cards that were used in the pre-staging process.
And they also have the evidence they need to link them to dozens more offences.
So in order to secure conviction against these two individuals, we had to show that they were responsible for targeting all the ATMs, and recovering the prepaid cards allowed us to link the two individuals in the car to the various different cash machines.
When the case comes to trial, both men plead guilty.
Initially, we identified the offences in London, but through inquiries with the bank and also CCTV, we established that these two individuals were committing offences on a much wider scale at a larger number of ATM machines all across the home counties. Both men were charged with conspiracy to steal from another and were sentenced to 2 years and 3 months in prison each. Thankfully, the use of ATMs is generally very safe and secure. However, this is something that we do see happening from time to time as a way for gangs to make money quickly. After a lot of hours put into conducting this investigation, it was very satisfying to have the result and also know that we've protected members of the public from this sort of crime. Looking back, very pleased with the investigation and definitely a job well done.
Back in Liverpool, police called to a suspected gas explosion have discovered the remains of a grenade, as well as a huge quantity of drugs.
159 kilos of amphetamine were recovered, a kilo of cocaine and about 9 kilos of mixing agent, together with the IED that had exploded. Clearly, an organised crime group were at play.
This investigation is taking a very different turn and needs the expertise of someone used to dealing with crime on this scale.
I'm Paul McVeigh, Detective Inspector for the North West Regional Crime Unit. So like many other cities in the UK, Liverpool has its challenges dealing with organised crime. It's important that we stay 1 foot ahead of the game and we make it an unsafe place for criminals to operate in.
Paul and his team need to investigate both the explosion and the drugs.
In terms of the property itself, what became apparent was that the occupier, female, was being used to store the drugs by the organised crime group. First and foremost was the sheer quantity of drugs together with the explosive. Your normal street dealer doesn't operate with those amounts. This practice is common with organised crime groups. It's often used in county lines by virtue of cuckooing. So that basically means organised crime groups identify vulnerable people. They will pay them pittance, but they will use their property to store large amounts of drugs.
The force puts out a public appeal for information, and a list of familiar names lands on Paul's desk.
Information came into the Regional Crime Unit with the names Liam Cornett, Michael Rice, Kieran Eves, an organised crime group operating in Merseyside. Liam Cornett was well known to Merseyside police. We knew that he was involved to some degree in drug supply and incidents of violence in and around the city. and we were satisfied that Liam Cornett was the head of the organised crime group. So certainly from my point of view, we were going to face some challenges with the investigation. Liam Cornett was living in Spain at the time, but coordinating activities, we believe, back in Liverpool. And whenever you deal with overseas law enforcement, things can be a little bit tricky. While Liam was out in Spain, our understanding was that Michael Rice and others were operating the drug distribution.
Paul puts both Michael Rice and Kieran Eves under surveillance, and it becomes clear that their criminal operation extends well beyond Liverpool.
We quickly became aware of them operating in South Wales, Devon and Cornwall, Hull. Had roughly 25 to 30 people involved at various different levels, from the top down to people street dealing.
As the surveillance work continues, the team in Wales managed to secretly film a rare visit to the UK by Liam Cornett. The investigation team identifies more gang members and gets a better picture of how they operate.
The organised crime group used various different methods of distributing drugs throughout the UK. Trains, in vehicles. We know that graph phones were used to communicate with the higher level dealers, but also the local dealers within those different areas of the UK. A graph phone is a phone that is used within a certain locality that people who buy drugs will ring. They can be used to take thousands of calls a day from people who buy drugs.
This investigation keeps growing and growing. Thousands of illegal drug deals and the movement of huge quantities of illicit substances across the UK.
The Liverpool phone that was a busy graft, around about 17,000 calls went in just for that couple of month period. The scale of criminality was worth roughly 1.2 million.
Paul and his team also get a window into how the criminal gang's ill-gotten gains are being spent, especially by the ringleader and his right-hand man.
Liam Cornett and Michael Rice, in terms of lifestyle, two individuals who like to go out and spend the money. Both enjoyed holidays in Monte Carlo, hiring of top-end vehicles over there, helicopters, spending untold amounts of money in casinos and really living the high life.
But Liam Cornett's extravagant life includes living in Spain, and getting an extradition order will be no easy task. They need to arrest him here. So instead, Paul's team starts taking apart Cornett's criminal operation in the UK. Their first target is trusted gang member, 25-year-old Nicholas Corner.
Him and two other members were identified going into a travel agent's and converting quite a lot of cash into euros before Nicholas Corner was booked on a flight to Spain, we would say, to go and see Liam Cornett. Nicholas Corner was stopped UK side and his bag was searched, and found within the bag was £25,000 in euro and sterling.
A month later, more intelligence comes through. It seems Cornett's most trusted right-hand man is involved in the transportation of weapons.
Michael Rice was seen leaving a house in the Toxteth area. He had a bag that looked like it contained a weighted item, potentially a firearm. A coordinated stop of that vehicle took place. Within the bag was a Glock handgun, several rounds of ammunition, and a gun cleaning kit. Clearly removing items like that off the street, certainly from a police point of view, is imperative.
Rice and Corner are the first in a series of arrests. But the top man, Liam Cornett, remains frustratingly out of reach. Paul applies for a European arrest warrant. But before it comes through, the team gets a lucky break. They get news that Liam Cornett is leaving Spain. He's on a plane and he's heading to Britain.
At that point, the decision was made to stop Liam coming through Manchester Airport. Liam was then subject to arrest, was taken into custody, refused to be interviewed, and then was subsequently charged with conspiracy to supply Class A and B drugs throughout the country.
With the top man behind bars, his criminal organisation topples like dominoes.
Certainly in Merseyside, but also in South Wales and Devon and Cornwall, all at the same time, and round up everyone who was involved throughout the investigation. And that has such a catastrophic effect on the organised crime group. Effectively, it completely dismantles it in such a short period of time.
But even with most of the gang in jail, they still pose a risk. And when Cornett gets to court, police are taking no chances.
Liam Cornett was under armed guard throughout the length of that trial. And that was based on information that we knew about Liam Cornett as a violent individual. In total, Liam Cornett received a 26-year prison sentence for his role as the head of the organised crime group. Michael Rice, Liam Cornett's right-hand man, received 18 years for his role with the firearms and within the drugs conspiracy as well.
What started as an accidental explosion had proved key to bringing down a major drugs gang. Cornett and 25 of his crew were sentenced to a combined total of more than 200 years behind bars.
Once the sentences were passed, it was a big relief. A lot of time and effort had been put into investigating this organised crime group. I know the misery that communities were subjected to. Removing somebody who has that influence and that negative impact on those communities was really important. But I think the most important part of this was some really dangerous and serious criminals were removed from the streets.
Next time on Big Little Crimes.
He was a nasty piece of work to my victims.
A detective discovers a criminal who's breaking hearts.
He did not care what he did to get this money.
And breaking the bank on an industrial scale.
How big was this case going to get?
And a reckless thrill seeker escapes from the police, only to cause carnage and chaos on the roads.